thanks to all the candidates and thanks everyone for tuning in. We're running just ahead of schedule. We're still going to try to do that, but just before we break, what I'd like to do is I would like to call all 5 of the candidates to the stage, and what I would like to do in a final, brief 5-minute session is open the floor to final questions for the candidates. Do we know where Jack is? He's listening to his iPod, isn't he? Come on up, Jack. We've got our speakers list there. We see some. Go ahead there, Sven.
Okay.
Please stand up and speak clearly so we can hear you.
Okay, Rob.
Hi. I've got a question for all of the candidates. What are you personally going to do to make sure that the government of British Columbia introduces campaign financing legislation? And the second part of my question is, what are you going to do to make sure the government of British Columbia prohibits union and corporate donations?
Just go clockwise there, right to left.
Well, number one, the NDP's already come out in 2005 saying they want to do that. They haven't made a big stink about it. The Liberals are going to have a hard time doing it because their biggest campaign donors are the largest corporations in this province. But I do believe that Gordon Campbell does want to change his legacy. We've suggested in our last press release that this could be one of his legacies, this electoral reform on the STV front and on the financing front. So what we're going to do, I've met with him once already, met with him after the last election, and we talked about it then, and we're going to go talk about it again, I'll go stay outside of Carol James' office actually, and to wait till she comes in so I can talk about it with her. So that's what we have to do, just return phone calls obviously, so we need to get a bit more in her face.
Can you pass the mic?
Candidates go to the mic, please.
That sounds like a good camping strategy there, Damien. I would like to add to that I think that Adrian Carr's leadership was pivotal in getting electoral reform on the map in BC, and if we're going to be successful in Canada, it's going to be due to her effort, which was a grassroots-based effort. We're going to do the same thing. That's going to be my way of tackling that problem.
Well, I'd just like to say, first of all, that I think these issues are fundamentally important, but I think we need to believe we can win with or without electoral reform, without finance reform, and being the only party that's actually doing the right thing, whether the other parties do or not. So we need to believe that we're going to be able to accomplish these things with or without that change. That being said, to actually get this change to happen, I think we need to get creative. We don't have a ton of money, so we can't afford a huge advertising budget, but we can, really do a grassroots, internet-based, YouTube-based, participatory campaign that really encourages the people of British Columbia to tell their government what they want. And I think if you ask people in BC whether they'd like to see these things happen, they would as well. So I'm pretty sure that we can either convince them to do it for the sake of legacy or shame them into doing it because that's what BC wants.
I always hate to promise what we could do because we don't have a lot of power. But maybe we could pull a Jean Chrétien, he decided that he would impose campaign finance reform because he wanted to screw everybody else when he was leaving power. So maybe we could get Gordon Campbell to want to do that for the NDP, and maybe we could use a subversive campaign to get what we want.
When Jane said that about Jean Chrétien, I thought she meant lie about everything in order to remembering NAFTA, which was but if the Liberal government wanted these things to happen, they'd be in place already, so obviously they don't. All we can do is fight as hard as we can and as creatively as we can to make them happen.
I've got Fred Bass next, and we'll start with Sylvain this time.
Everyone knows that the Green Party is good for 10 to 15% of the vote next time around, and that the NDP is good for somewhere between 29% and 44% of the vote. This is a simple yes or no question to each of you. As leader, would you be willing to put the NDP up against the wall and say, look, we will give you uncontested 23 good ridings if you give us 7 uncontested good ridings?
As leader, I have to say yes or no because it's up to the membership to make that decision, although I think strategically it would be good to think about various different ways of democratizing our democracy. So I think it's a good question, but I don't think it would be in my purview as leader to make that decision for the membership.
I'm asking your opinion, assuming you can persuade the membership in that direction.
We'll find out tomorrow. That's my 30-second soundbite.
You're next.
Thanks for the question, Fred. I can't answer that until we speak to the members, really. Adrian tried in 2005 to talk to the NDP. It didn't go anywhere. We've been trying now. You know, I'm open to coalitions, but I'm not concerned about which party it is with. And I really respect all your work, but you know, specific formula at this time is premature, but it's something that we can look at going forward. You know, we need to have Green MLAs in the House in Victoria. That's our main objective, and we'll do what it takes to get there. So thank you.
Fred, given to the specific nature of your question, I'd have to say no. I wouldn't be willing to trade any certificate. But just for the sake of saying it, I mean, I do respect where you're coming from on this. I do believe we need to be open to talking about coalition government and talk about different ways that we can do things and work more cooperatively with the other parties. But I wouldn't want to just have any sort of carte blanche, this number of seats, that number of seats. You know, I think it's really important that there's a really effective Green voice in absolutely every single riding, and that sort of a formula I just don't think is a recipe for success.
My answer is no. I believe that Green voters have a right to vote Green.
And I don't think it's, I also don't think it's the leader's decision to make, it's the party's.
Okay, I have Mike Carr next on the list.
Hi, well, one of the reasons we don't have a democracy in this country and in this province is because of the humongous amount of control that the corporate world has over everything we do. Decisions made about BC and Canada are made sometimes in New York or Los Angeles rather than being made even within Canada. And I'd like to ask each of the leadership candidates what you would do to address the problem of not only democratizing our government structures, but democratizing our corporate structures.
Well, that's a great question, Mike. Thank you. And in the 15 seconds I've got, it's a hard one to answer. But you're a founder of an organization that I'm now a board member of, which is the Aurora Institute, which has got a lot of these solutions already. Aurora.ca, if you're curious about that. Basically, I'd like to see more democracy in the workplace. I mean, I think that the business sector is sort of the last realm of democracy. We haven't gotten to the point where we actually have stakeholder involvement, citizen involvement in decisions that come out of industry. That's fundamentally important. How to get from here to there is a question that deserves a lot more time, but perhaps we can talk about it more after this.
Big question. And I think that from my perspective, one of the things that we need to do is we need to sever the toxic relationship between industry and the government. When you hear Gordon Campbell talk, he always talks about we have to consult with industry. We need to get to the stage where we know the role of government, and government plays that role, and they don't service industry in a way that is not in the best interests of British Columbians. The other thing is I think we need to engage industry, and you take a large corporation like Interface Carpets, and you have a man in Ray Anderson who understands that industry has to be part of the solution. And so we need to find a way to engage industry and help them understand that and help them propose solutions. I sit with industry people on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I sit with people on the industry people on the Capital Regional Housing Corporation, and they have way better answers to some of the questions than we do. And I think we need to engage them.
I think one of the most important things we have to do is, I would like to see the Green Party or any political people start to say that the corporations run the country, as you're suggesting. and to say that we don't have a free press, the corporations own the media. I think that's not a bad first step in beginning to inform the people of this country that things are very badly awry, and we're living in almost an Alice in Wonderland world where the decisions are being made to benefit others, and the information we're getting is simply not the truth or what we have to know.
That's a really loaded question, and first I thought I wouldn't be able to answer it, but then something, I remembered something I learned in Prince George. I was speaking to a forester, and he is employed by the government, but he basically works for industry, and he said the biggest problem that he faces is that the entire forestry regulating sector is basically embedded in the industry, and so therefore they really have no choice to act on their conscience. They're caught between a rock and a hard place if they want to keep their jobs, and this was an extremely ethical forester. The kind of forester you would like to run the Ministry of Forests, but he doesn't. And he has no influence, and when he's been trying to talk about his experiences and actually engage with industry and other decision makers, his boss in government told him he would no longer be allowed, or he warned him not to speak out in public. So we're really dealing with a big problem here, and I think it's a bit beyond us in some ways. But everything we can do, I think we should do, and maybe one day it'll make a difference. That's all I can tell you honestly.
Well, Mike, there's two things that I would advocate for right away. Number one would be restoring the financing levels for the Freedom of Information Act office and the commissioner. Under the BC Liberals, the Freedom of Information Act has been pilfered, and it doesn't have the strength that it once had, so us citizens cannot gain information like we once could on the operations of our government and interaction with industry. And number two, I would look to get together an elders council led by David Suzuki, who's, I wouldn't call him a friend, but he's like a colleague. He lives in my neighbors. And it wouldn't be political, it would be nonpartisan based. It would be led by David Suzuki, who is a recognized one of the leaders in this province in our country. And then we could move forward and we could put forward a nonpartisan solution. I think it will come down to nonpartisan policies that will create change in things like the triple bottom line and tax and pollution and things like electoral reform. So beefing up the Freedom of Information Act and the office, and number two, create a nonpartisan elders council.
Okay, I have Dan Grice next, and Jane will answer this question first.
Well, this has been so exciting. I've watched many leadership debates of all the other rest of the parties, and they don't have anything compared to us. You guys are all so dynamic and so have so much energy amongst you. But I guess one of the things about this is only one of you are going to be walking away with that prime job. I want to know, what's your second choice in the party? What do you see if you don't take that leadership? It's a question of honesty. What role do you want to play in the party if you don't become leader? Good question.
I've been involved in the party since I joined in 2001, and there are lots of things that I intend to do. I intend to support the 3 South Vancouver Island candidates in the next federal election. I intend to support the municipal Green candidates in the 2008 municipal election, and I intend to support the provincial candidates in the 2009 election. I may be one of them, and I may not. That will depend on the choice of the constituency association. So I intend to be involved. I'm at kind of a different life stage than some of the other people. I don't have a lot of time to make a difference, and I'm committed to making change happen, no matter what it takes for me to do that. And so I will look at what's the best way for me to do that.
The Green Party of Canada just put out a press release asking the federal government to really take immediate steps on the issue of cell phones, based on something that happened in Germany. Germany warned its citizens to avoid wireless technology wherever possible, and the EU has done the same thing. I'd be interested in getting involved in working groups of members, working on specific issues, and really empowering the grassroots of the party to become as involved as possible in making the party work and speaking for the party, to allow members on issues to be speaking for the party. I'd like to work on that kind of thing.
Dan, well, I think you know the first part of the answer to my question here. If I happen not to win, and if I do win regardless, we'll be helping you in your campaign to be the next MP in Vancouver Quadra for the Green Party of Canada. By-election might be announced tomorrow, we will see. As well, I look forward to continue working with the members in Vancouver Point Grey. We've got a supporter base of around 300, and we've got a very strong. In 2001, there was around 20%, and we got a very strong result of about 15% in the last election. So we need to maintain that grassroots base. I think we are making a difference in Gordon Campbell's home riding. I saw Ken Wu protesting outside his office only this last week. So we do make a difference. I saw Gordon Campbell at Al Gore's cocktail party last week. I love to see him talking the green talk. Let me tell you, when he starts walking it, I'm going to be the first to pat him on his back whenever he does, which I don't believe will happen anytime soon. But those are the things that I plan to do if we don't happen to win this leadership race. Thanks, Dan.
Oh, I've been yearning for that vacation in Greenland. Never been there before. Actually, as you probably know, I just won the my council position back as international liaison to the Global Greens for the Green Party of Canada. So I think I will probably concentrate a lot on that. I'm also the potential new MP for my riding, so if we have an election coming up soon, I'll get my name out there some more. And I will use whatever expertise I have that any of the other leaders that may win would like to draw upon to help them do their job as best as possible. I'd love to be a spokesperson for the party in whatever capacity. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing anyways, and what I have been since the founding of the party.
Dan, I have to commend you on recruiting for your campaign in the midst of the question. It's fantastic. To be honest, I've been so focused on this goal that it's really hard to separate myself from it. I will have to do some soul searching if the election's over and it turns out that I'm not the new leader of the party. What I can tell you though is that I've been working tirelessly to try to elect Greens into either the legislature or into Parliament in one way, shape, or form or another, and that's not going to change regardless of the outcome of this. So I think I bring an interesting set of skills as an organizer and in other ways to the table. No matter what the outcome is, I'll continue working tirelessly for the party.
I'm going to get the last question to Christopher.
I'll ask the final question, and I think it's essential, it's very important. I don't think we could go and close the ballots until everyone has a firm answer. Jack, what are you listening to on your iPod? I had $20 and it was a Snoop Doggy Dogg album. I've heard Barry Manilow, I've heard the new Celine Dion. All right, we'll talk after. I can't vote until I know. Very important. In all seriousness, you have all done a great job of speaking to your strengths over the campaign and what you will bring to the party. The toughest question, and I want it as simply and cleanly as you can give all of us here today, a leader is only as effective as the team they surround themselves by. What, in short, is your greatest weakness? Where will you need the most support as leader to do the best job if elected?
I think I'm very happy that Walter Mars-Werpen is taking on the job of chair of the council, because I think not yet. Because I think there's going to be a lot of organization brought to bear on the important things. And if anybody ever took a look at my house or my filing cabinet, they would know that that is my greatest weakness. Thank you.
It's a great question. Yes, we all have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses, and if I was fortunate enough to be elected the leader of the Green Party of BC, I believe that strength in media and communications and organizing, but I do believe that I would need assistance because I believe in this Get Out the Vote campaign. We had a list of 145 members on our support team through this selection process, and we spent the last week trying to get all those members to get their ballots in. And that is a huge job. And so what we need, well, I believe the campaign would need help for the most, the provincial campaign, is expertise in the Get Out the Vote campaign. I remember in 2005 seeing NDP candidates and members walking door to door that identified their vote. They're knocking on the guy's door or lady's door and saying, please come out and vote. That's what we need to do, and I believe that we have people with expertise in that field. And it comes down to, like Drina mentioned, having the strong regional representation and a very, very strong Get Out the Vote campaign, because that's where our biggest weakness has been. And I have remember speaking with Adrian about this. She worked her tail off in so many ways, but there was capacity issues. But we have more capacity. We've got a full room here, and we can have a better Get Out the Vote campaign. We looked to in 2009.
Would you like to guess what my biggest weakness is? Sorry? I think that manpower and woman power is needed, and the trouble is we keep relying on the same people to do the job, to do the many jobs that we all end up having to do, and burnout. I think that is the biggest problem. And it's the biggest problem, I think, in the entire party. So that's why I was talking about increasing our membership and making it as easy as possible. I don't care if they don't pay; they'll pay later. So that's my way.
Well, thank you, Christopher. And I'd like to take this chance just to say thank you so much for all the work that you've done. You've been a fantastic interim leader, and thank you for that.
No problem.
You know what? This is
I'm
the
not
question.
letting you off the hook now.
You're not letting me off the hook, and I tried. You know, this is the classic sort of interview question, isn't it? And I mean, the answer that everybody's supposed to give is, well, you know, I'm a workaholic. I just can't stop working. I won't leave the desk. But the truth of the matter is that I think I talk a lot about the carrying capacity of our planet, and I haven't done enough to work on my own personal carrying capacity. You know, I think we all need to be really cognizant of the stresses we put on ourselves and how we sort of, you know, pace ourselves and make sure that we don't burn ourselves out. There's been a number of campaigns, like when I ran for mayor, I got really sick at the end of the campaign, and you know, that's just sort of something you need to be really cognizant of is how you take care of yourself along the way. Plus, I'll use this as an opportunity to say my mother and stepfather in the room back there, I probably don't call them enough. That's probably one of my biggest weaknesses.
I actually think my greatest weakness is also my greatest strength, and that is impatience. And my impatience has accelerated since I became a grandmother. So what I do to compensate that is I have very good communication skills. I've got very good group process skills. I know how to summarize to see if we're close to a decision point. I know how to include people. So I have good compensation skills, but sometimes I do get very impatient and I just want to get things done.
Well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 5 leadership candidates. Thank you. Great job, everyone. Thank you. Phenomenal energy in the room right now. Just before we go to a break, we need your attention for just 30 more seconds. A reminder before Sven's housekeeping items, the ballot box will close at 4 o'clock if you have not voted. Don't go at 4 o'clock. Tory will be meticulous in taking it away from you. You cannot vote it. It's done at 4. So go now. There'll be a lineup just before 4 o'clock. If you haven't done it yet, please be aware of that. 4 o'clock is the cutoff. We have a great speaker who's going to come in and give a shorter version of the speech. He'll be giving at dinner tonight for those who won't get a chance to see Whistler Zone Olympic Mayor, Mr. Ken Malamud.